In my previous video, I talked about how you should wait for the new leadership commander to see if he's worth investing before you do Alp Arslan. And Vercingetorix, and this first and last time I'm gonna say his name. I'm gonna call him Vegeta for short. Dragon Ball Z fans know what's up. So Vercingetorix, once again I said it just to make it sound a little bit better, is a buffer commander who, in my eyes, is not really that great, in my opinion, because he doesn't do any damage. First of all, he does very minimal damage. He buffs troop attack, he reduces march speed, but Philip makes you deal 20% more damage, and every other march takes less damage. I think that on its own, and that can also multiply with his expertise, so you can pop off quite frequently. And in the buffing regard, I think it's already a very bad loss for Vegeta. But what he also does is he is an enabler, but he's not enabling all troop types equally. He's only enabling normal damage, and normal damage only benefits Smite and Combo. Well, we just had an Archer Commander, and the Archer Commander is doing skill damage. Archers are not skill damage, it's pretty known. Meanwhile, someone like Hector, who can be second behind every troop type, and he does a lot of damage, honestly a lot of damage, and he also doesn't really care about this damage type because he covers it all. He has march speed, he has, obviously, he's a very good garrison, which is another plus to his kit because, hey, in the future you might need a city garrison, and you can slot Hector behind any other primary you can think of at the time. Now this could be someone like, we have infantry garrison coming, but it's at the start of the year. We could be having like another Gorgo, and you can put a Gorgo and use Hector secondary on your wall, and you'll be good to go. Or you could use, something like that. He gives you options. Meanwhile, Vegeta doesn't really give you that many options because the next cycle is basically calorie. And I've seen content creators talk about how Vegeta is better than Hector for Arthur, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, even so, even if he's better, he's going to be better for like 2 months, and you're going to bench him. I don't think that's a wise investment. You should invest in commanders that will last you for at least a year minimum, but ideally like 2 years and plus. So I think in that regard, I think Vegeta is not a good choice for 90% of players. And Vegeta is, in my eyes, someone for new players coming to Season of Conquest who don't have too many marches. And I know he buffs marches, obviously, but when people come to Season of Conquest, they have limited options, so they will likely invest into something that's the latest, and they can invest in Vegeta and then work on a new calorie commander and then pair them together, and by the time new infantry comes around, they might switch Vegeta to the new infantry and then work another calorie pair, but that only works for infantry and cavalry. But archers are not really that work with him, which is, if you're looking for versatility, is not something you want, obviously. Philip, on the other hand, gives you march speed, gives you stats, gives you all damage, makes you take less damage. He also reduces rage, and is also an enabler of your commander. Vegeta does enable you, and it probably has more buffs, but it's more like combo related buffs, which are very short term in my eyes. And he could potentially make you deal more damage, but for the rest of the kit, like, you're not trading 30% attack for 20% damage, or 30% damage dealt and mitigation total. I think that's a very uneven trade, and you should always take Philip in that regard. If you're looking for versatility in all areas who actually do some damage, and by the way, why am I qualified to talk about leadership? Well, very simple. I run leadership march, I run echelon formation, I've been running civilized, and it's not very popular, but in my case, I really notice a difference in both survivability and my damage output when I'm not using my Philip March. In the past, I've used Trajan Mulan, which was, looking back, I was a madman because I remember those trades were just horrible, and it really affected my DPS output because I was losing too much resources to heal that march. But ever since Philip got into the game, back in a year ago, 2 years ago now, I don't remember, but he came along with Ragnar Prime, and I told people back then, you should not work on Ragnar Prime. Ragnar Prime is a skill damage infantry. You should not work with skill damage infantry because we're going towards Pincer. It simply didn't add up, but people were like too hesitant. He does too, he was too good. He does too much damage. Yes, he did a lot of damage at the time, and he might still do that damage with Wedge too, but he is a depreciation. What's the term for it? Depreciating assets. Like his value is going down. He's not going up. He's going down. Meanwhile, Philip stayed and still is part of some lineups. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Philip has been sort of a filler, but he also has more uses than I would say Ragnar does, obviously. And he was switched around with Arthur, then with Luce. He was used with Zuge, I remember, with our second Archer March. And he could still find some use in the lineup because he is enabling all other marches. And especially the one he is buffing, like the other commander he's using him in the pairing with thanks to this skill right here, makes you deal 30% more damage, and you're doing more, like 40% more damage on his active skill. This can pop off multiple times. And yeah, this is the talent build I'm using, by the way. So I already have the slow in my support tree, and yeah, Vegeta also does the slow, but this is basically what he does, except it's not 25%, it's 40%, which I'm not gonna lie to you, that does sound very good. Like the march speed reduction, I like that, commanders, but it's not something unique. Okay, a lot of commanders got slow on their kit. For example, I think Luce does 40% damage reduction for 5 targets. Boom. You got it. Luce Philip does this march, does basically everything Vegeta does in a much significant way, and in a way that doesn't hurt your hospital bill. Trust me. I know how it feels to like see Trajan Mulan, a march that does no damage, just pump out and have like a meat shield. And in my eyes back then, it was kind of worth it, but looking back, no. I don't want to see any leadership march that does no damage. Like, my current pairing is skip your prime because I have like all like infantry set up. But what I like about this pairing is has very good utility with the health reduction. It's actually quite tanky and fast, and he also does shields. Wait, not the. I think this is one shield. Yeah. Yeah, grand damage absorbing shield up 3,500 enemy troops. So this is not a mighty shield, obviously, but it's very close to it. 500 factor, and you're getting like an 800 factor mighty shield. So this, I really thought about this commander. I thought this could be an interesting commander, but in my eyes, the only real use that I see for him is when people join from Season of Conquest and have limited options, and they want to work on the newest commanders, like no cavalry and infantry. And I think that's the only window you want to have this investment. But for people who have Philip and Hector, like Hector, I really like Hector. If I had to order these commanders in like order with versatility, effectiveness, and long-term usefulness, I would actually put Hector first because he works with all troop types. He has to be the secondary, so you can basically save up stars if you're a new player. You don't have to put in primary. He does very good. I mean, I would say very good on the field. He does the job on the field. Like he's reliable. But once he's like past his field usage, you can use him in a city garrison. And why would you make a city garrison? Well, once you reach a certain power of, I don't know, 80 plus, 85 million plus, If you have a garrison, doesn't have to be city garrison. You can work on, I don't know, like a new infantry garrison. It's going to be like something like Gorgo 2.0. You have Gorgo 2.0. You have Hector. You have a decent amount of power, and you can work on some very basic armaments like I have right here. You don't really have to have two great armaments to get it rolling. And you can be able to random teleport. Random teleport gives you a lot of advantages because you have to, number one, march two objectives as much. You can bait rallies if you know how to do it. But I say that with a caution. You have to be a little bit experienced to make that work. And you can also get more KP because lots of times these marches are going to the objective. You're just trying to disrupt their flow. And doing that, they will focus on you or they will ignore you and you will get the free KP. So that, in my eyes, having a city garrison is actually more valuable than I thought it would be because it gives you options. And Vegeta, as a leadership commander, I feel like he's kind of limited in a way, and his value is going to be very short term because once the new calorie arrives in, I don't know, September, October, you're going to work with a new calorie guy. Vegeta is the fourth best calorie option. Debatable, maybe not even that, maybe like a fifth choice behind Hector, maybe. And then the new infantry comes around, and you're gonna work on the new infantry. You're pairing with Sun Tzu. You work on BQ as well because BQ is still a very good commander. So is Luce, but Luce has already been here for quite some time, so maybe not, but you get the point. His usage is very short term and he's not that great. Like if he did some damage on his active skill or did something more, then I would maybe reconsider it, but obviously he's not here in the game. But I'm just really not I see content creators fawn over this guy like he's the new second coming, but he's really not. Okay, he might be popping off for a short term, but once the new calorie and infantry arrive, he's gonna be forgotten or very, very, very irrelevant. So Hector number one for versatility, all around usage. I would put Philip number two because Philip does what Vegeta does, and he does it, in my eyes, better. Like he's a better all-rounder. He buffs your whole lineup. He does some damage. He reduces the rage, and he does that quite frequently with his, active skill usage. He's got a good skill tree, and he is a good enabler. And then number three, I would put Vegeta because he is a very short-term option. Maybe in the future they will drop a commander that does shields. Maybe that then story could change. But as a low spender free-to-play or people who don't have too many sculptures, you shouldn't really be making these type of risky investments. You want to bet on something that will last you for at least 2+ years, because that otherwise you're just gonna be playing catch up, and you don't want that. You just really want to have something stable that you can work on that will last you until you get tired of it. And lastly, to get the most out of these commanders, like Philip for example, you do want to have like at least 3 to 4 marches, because you want to have these buffs apply to you because they're the most reliable. The other marches could be affected, but they might not be in combat. It could be a bit awkward, and maybe in most cases it won't be worth it. So that's another thing. Hector doesn't really care about that. He's just there. You can put it behind anyone. He doesn't care about any buffs, which is another plus side to him. So Hector MVP, Philip good all-rounder, Vegeta very short-term fix. That's my very, very short recap. And let me know in the comments below, because leadership has always been dicey, and I don't want people to fall into this trap because it feels very obvious to me.